Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. When we get deeper into the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma, we find that a whole lot of these concepts, like the Guru, have much greater meaning than what is popularly known. Today being the Teachers' Day in our country of India, it is, I thought, in fitness of things to say that the ultimate meaning of Guru is certain supreme intelligence which pervades this whole universe. That supreme intelligence is in both believers and non-believers. That supreme intelligence is in atheists, communists, and any other category of people. What is required is not an external show of religiosity in the form of going to a temple or such things, though that has its own place for those who are doing it. What is required is a pure mind, a transparent mind, an honest mind. So even an atheist is honest when he is convinced of something. He doesn't make it an issue of false prestige, and because of that false prestige, refuse to accept another view. He being very honest, if you have convinced him of the value of a certain practice, he will appreciate it. He may even start doing it. Today, in this webinar, we have a topic, and that is the wisdom of the two roads. We began with the wisdom of two rooms, then we had the wisdom of the two arrows, and in this session, webinar 207, we have the wisdom of two roads. We are taking the word road inspired by a well-known poem by an American poet, Robert Frost. And the poem was titled by him, The Road Not Taken, but among the 4 stanza poem, the last stanza has an expression, the road less. The road less traveled thus has also become a very popular phrase. A professor of psychology in Chicago, Scott Peck, wrote a book titled The Road Less Traveled in late 80s or early 90s, and it was a bestseller. And all successful people, doesn't have to be Americans only, when something succeeds, they have the next step already ready. So Scott Peck came out with one more book, More Miles on the Road Less Traveled. If Chicken Soup for the Soul becomes a success, which it did, then you have a second book, a second sipping of the chicken soup for the soul. All right. The Road Less Traveled is a book of the last century, inspired by Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. That poem by Frost doesn't have to be gone into in detail by us. I will just read only the last stanza, where he says, I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That has made all the difference, he says. Taking the road less traveled has made all the difference, he says, in his own case. And that can sum up the story of every one of us also. Though our moment of taking the road less traveled may not have yet come, we may be still making the same old mistakes, never learning from life's bitter lessons. Our mistakes, our follies, our errors have made us suffer a lot. We have paid a heavy price for certain blunders we have committed and are committing. And yet, habits die hard. Therefore, today's topic is very important in terms of our awakening in ourselves certain intelligence to choose the right option. So I began touching upon the principle of Guru and said a Guru really is the supreme intelligence, though for our convenience we may look at a person, we look at some saint, some sage of our times or of a previous time as our Guru. Some of us may have several personalities whom we look up to as our Gurus. Fine. The Hindu Shastras are very accommodating. Whether you worship Shiva Linga that is worshipped by people for thousands of years, like Arunachala in Tiruvannamalai, or you went and picked up a small stone from a shop connected to a temple just 2 days back, and you have brought it home and you have started worshipping that little stone, which is your own little one that you brought 2 days back. The Hindu scriptures say, wonderful, that is the way to begin. They do not forbid you from worshipping a small stone which doesn't mean anything to others, nor do they attach undue importance to a Shiva Linga that is very well known. Each one is encouraged to practice one's devotion in one's own way, each to oneself, as the saying goes, as the expression goes. So the Guru is the supreme intelligence, and I'm connecting it to this webinar's topic in this way. Only that supreme intelligence should show its compassion on us for us to stop our wrong ways and start making intelligent decisions. Otherwise, we may have double PhDs. We might have guided 25 people to do PhD, and yet in our personal life, there could be no people more foolish than us. We could be making big mistakes. I have known many very learned people. Some years ago, I knew a professor of IIT Bombay, where I was neither a student nor a teacher, but I knew some people in IIT Bombay. And that professor, who had to his credit so many laudable papers in international journals and many other things, was actually known to be beating his wife every day. So imagine. So one's personal life or the whole of one's life might not be aligned with one's spectacular success in business or some other field. It may not be aligned even with Vedantic scholarship. I'm putting myself also into the category. You and I need to invoke divine grace for us to make the right choice, which is what is meant by the wisdom of the two roads. We have been taking the road traveled by everybody. Everybody, Sita, Geeta, and Neeta, or Tom, Dick, and Harry, go for name and fame, glitter and glamour, instant gratification, fun, enjoyment, and comfort, convenience. That is the road more traveled. A rare few go for the road less traveled. This, in fact, is a concept that there is a tempting option before us, which doesn't bring us much good really down the road. And then there is a certain option which is at first sight not all that inviting, but judiciously exercising proper discretion if you take it, not blindly or madly. The Shastra never asks you to, blindly take some path on the basis that nobody else is going, so I took it. You might be, what do they call it, in your own fool's paradise. Nobody was touching that live wire that was hanging from one of the, poles above. And I thought that is the road less traveled. Nobody is touching that electric wire. So let me go touch. So if you do that, you will die. So please do not mix things up, imagining that we must do something which nobody else does. No, that is not the logical criteria. Upon some thinking, if you see, hey, the way most people are behaving is not so wise. I am able to see people are getting into trouble. Generation after generation, those who went for instant gratification, those who went for compromise with truth or non-violence or self-control, etc., ended up in trouble. I'm able to see. Why should I make more mistakes? I also made some, but let me at least stop at this moment. Let me not just do as they are all doing. Let me learn partly from my own mistakes, but quite a bit from others' mistakes. I see them making mistakes and running into trouble. Let me learn from it. I was going through for a change, I do some general reading once in a while. I don't read voraciously. Please don't think I'm a voracious reader. No. But I do read a little of here, a little of that, a little of this, and so on. Today, there was a book for last 3 years with me. I had not touched it. This book, you may see, Blue Ocean Strategy, by two authors, Kim and Mawborn, a gentleman and a lady. And today I said, hey, it has been with me for 2 or 3 years. I haven't read it, though I know the concept basically. I said, for webinar tonight, no other preparation than reading this book. Because speakers like me, have one, I'm giving out a secret of mine. Speakers like me can connect anything to any topic. That doesn't mean that this book has no connection at all. I'll quickly show you. This book, The Blue Ocean Strategy, and I won't spend too much time on it, is about actually the corporate world. If you are always into what everybody else is doing, where already there is tremendous competition, where already the market profit share is grabbed by many, you are also trying to get into that same field, it's not going to help you much. First of all, with all those long-time players, you are a new player in the field, you're going to suffer. Secondly, even if you are well-driven and talented enough and you have invested enough, since there are so many players over there in that particular business, you can't earn much. To use a strong language, the authors of this book, which came first in the 90s as some articles in Harvard Business Review, later on transformed into a full-fledged book, they use an expression, red ocean. You know what a red ocean is? Red ocean is where there are many sharks and for their food, they actually end up in fighting and so much blood fills the water of that part of the ocean. So that ocean becomes red with the blood of what they attack and so on. In contrast, in the analogy proper, the blue ocean is where you go to an entirely different part of the ocean. No fight is taking place there. The water is blue. And coming to the corporate scenario, the authors giving number of case studies and all the jargon of, organizational behavior and marketing and finance and so on. Now you know why I won't spend much time on that, because I don't know that jargon anyway. But they argue that hold back, be creative. Can you think of some area of activity, I'm still talking about business, where you are not just imitating everybody else, you actually look at society and find out this society, these people need something which no one has been giving them. Let me give to people what nobody else has been giving. And that is a blue ocean strategy. I also chanced upon a Canada, Vancouver-based coach. Coach means, he coaches people in the corporate world. There are many kinds of coaches, as you know, CEO coaches and so on. But this Vikram Anand, Indian, but based in Vancouver, he coaches people who are looking for better jobs or who are looking for jobs. They lost their earlier job. And Vikram Anand, there are short 5 minutes videos by him on the YouTube if you like to see. He repeatedly uses the same expression, blue ocean strategy. He says, if you are looking for a job, don't just go for those jobs where everybody is heading. Find out what are those areas where nobody is going. All of them have the same language. The road less traveled is where nobody is going. The road more traveled, where there is a lot of rush, is where everybody is going. So to wind up that reference to blue ocean strategy, there is no blood, no fight, no cutthroat competition. Cutthroat, think of that word, cut somebody's throat, blood would ooze. So where there is no cutthroat competition, but you have identified a true need of people in the world and you supply to them what they need. Rest is up to your imagination. In education, in, of course, the commercial world. And right in the early paragraphs of this book, I took a pencil and marked it. The authors have said, even in non-profit organizations. See, people like me who are teaching Vedanta and so on, on a higher level, we don't belong to any organization. We are seeking God, we are seeking truth. But one notch below, we are in what abroad they call non-profit organizations. In India, we call it NGOs, non-government organizations. Service, we serve the society. We are not considered commercial organizations. But as these authors, Kim and Marbone, it's a very strange spelling, Borgne, Mabon. So Kim and Mabon say non-government organizations also have to go for blue ocean strategy. Even we, the disciples of Swami Chinmayānanda, should not go on doing exactly what he did. Because what he did has now become so popular, it has become red ocean, in a manner of saying. Tom, Dick and Harry goes on the stage and Sri Bhagavan Vacha, they start a lecture on Gita. Swami Chinmayananda was a trailblazer or was a pioneer in the English language, opposing orthodoxy, who said Vedas should not be talked in English. He bravely and boldly went from town to town and worked so hard and created. He was very creative. For his time, 1950s, Gita Jnana Yajnas, in some football ground, in some cricket ground, or some backyard of some, wherever there is a large enough Maidan, some space where a few hundreds could sit. Swamiji said that this is the best place for me. Put up a stage and put up a tent, and he himself used to, supervise. Even as late as 1987 in Bangalore, I saw. He came for a 7-day lecture series. We were all workers. We had put together, the stage and for 2,000, 3,000 people to assemble. And the Swami, who had traveled from somewhere, rather than taking rest till late evening, coming to lecture fresh and fine, comes at afternoon 4:30 and examines the tent, examines the stage, examines the arrangement for book sales, goes through everything, and in his typical royal style. He belonged to a royal family of Kerala. With his chest up, he said, okay, this seems to be a little loose, tighten it, okay. And this and this. He gave some instructions, ring, he went up. Then, of course, he would take a bath and maybe take a hot cup of tea or coffee, come at 6:30 to deliver the lecture. But 4:30, Swamiji was in another avatar. So at his time, it was blue ocean. But today, giving lectures on Bhagavad Gita in English or Malayalam, Telugu or Kannada, Hindi or Punjabi, it has become so common. All other organizations also have started using the words Jnana Yajna, Balvihar and all those things. So Kim and Mabon are so right. Even in non-profit organizations, spirituality or healthcare or serving people with, giving the hungry food, giving the naked clothes to wear, wide range of seva. There also we go for blue ocean. Don't just do what others are doing. Now a connection with Vedanta, with Upanishads. It is said in many ways in many Upanishads. But the most well-known expression for the two roads is Shreya and Preya. Shreyascha Preyascha Purusham Sinitaha Tau Samparitya Vivinakti Dhiraha Shreyo Dhiraha Preyaso Vranite Preyo Mandaha Yogakshemad Vranite. Couple of mantras by Lord Yama spell it out so explicitly. Those who don't want to think, don't want to be creative, don't want to be innovative, they don't want to take a fresh look at things, simply repeat, simply do what everybody else is doing. In fact, the fact of the matter is leave everybody else. If we do just what we did all these days, that was also red ocean. We ourselves have to change. If we had done something for last 10 years, even if we had succeeded quite well, 10 years have passed and now everybody knows this kind of activity. So they are also doing. Now we must again try to be innovative. Or our sons, our daughters should do something new. They cannot just repeat what the father or mother did, however successful their parents had been at their time. I once heard that in USA, what was his name? Clinton's vice president, Gore, Al Gore. So about him, my friends in California told me. Al Gore's father was known for laying down, the wonderful freeway system in the country. And Al Gore took up, or he pursued, I believe, the, information technology, networks and so on. It may not be the same father and son, I guess same, whatever. So time to time, there was a time where the freeways, where no signals, no stop, you go like an arrow. That was a great innovation, making a lot of things convenient. And then came the stage when in technology, networks, fast connectivity to the cyberspace. So let me not go more into technology or science. Coming to spirituality, that is, spirituality in an applied form is human values. In the context of human values, you and I have to be innovative. In the language of Upanishad, we need to put our foot down on Preya, what gave us some gratification, maybe for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. But then, if we have intelligence inside us, we should say, that's it. Now, I don't want to draw happiness from mere wealth or sense pleasure or fame, name, somebody praising me. I want to find another source of happiness. And that is Shreya. Ultimately, you and I would realize that true happiness is not from outside at all. That is the ultimate blue ocean. Sense pleasures, ice cream and rasgulla and all that, and making a lot of money and being well talked of by people of the town, because this mad world makes you a god if you have enough money. And neither they are right nor are you right. Money doesn't make you a god. Money can give you some advantage, some convenience here and there, but mad world, amount of importance that is given to Jeff Bezos of Amazon or Bill Gates, or in India we have Birla, Ambani and Narayana Murthy and so on, because their business empire became so successful. The society gives a lot of importance to them. Their words become the Bible, to use the idiom. Their words become the Bible, but the truth is different. Some of the most successful people in business or sports, etc., may have a very different story to their own personal life. I do not want to really judge this tennis player. 2 weeks ago, Bjorn Borg, who had won many Grand Slam titles in tennis many years ago. Bjorn Borg was a big name in tennis. Now he is about 55 or so. He was seen going around with this latest girlfriend, some 26-year-old, and a lot of photographs were taken. There's some news had come. And his own wife, divorced and living far away, had expressed some objections, not about him going with her or her going with him, but apparently this girlfriend was feeding Borg's children, who were her children, first wife's children, or feeding or putting some skin care or something. And she looks at those children as her children. And she just requests the new girlfriend Please be careful. Don't put all that chemical on the skin of my children. Those children are not just Borg's children, my children too. So there was some story. You may wonder how Swamiji knows all this. You know, this Yahoo till last week, you can't enter the email without reading some news. There will be some news highlighted. And you can't exit email. You are checking Yahoo email. You check, you log out, there's always again news. Somebody got gold medal in Tokyo Olympics. Somebody in Bollywood has divorced somebody, something. So that's how I, whether I want it or not, my eyes fall on these things. While till last week, some of you know, Yahoo India has been stopped by Indian government from putting any news on their website. Email is operating. Why? Having mentioned it, some of you would be, Indian government did not stop them fully, but Indian government put some conditions. Because in the eyes of the BJP government in India, a number of foreign agencies, including Yahoo and many other, on the media and so on, in the eyes of the BJP government, they are all very, very pro-Congress or pro-leftist ideologies. And they were putting up some news with a bias. So the Indian government put some conditions. Before you put any news on the Yahoo homepage, where millions and millions would be entering for checking their email, and they would take a look at what you have put, you need to get our permission. And as a protest, Yahoo has left it blank. It's a very odd feeling to go check email without coming across any news at all. Anyway, so why I mentioned it is making a lot of money or winning some Grand Slam titles or those Oscars or those Grammy Awards or those Nobel Prizes, any of them, all of them also don't make the road less taken or less traveled. In fact, though very few achieve those heights, that is also the road more traveled only. Because that success in terms of money and pleasure and fame and some skills, how fast you run, how high you jump, how far you throw your javelin, with due respect to Neeraj Chopra of India, about whom we are all happy in a way. But that doesn't constitute what we call the road less traveled. The road less traveled is a certain spiritual excellence. If the word spiritual is too high for you, this is moral excellence. This is a matter of certain human excellence, certain integrity, certain viveka, certain vairagya, certain true selflessness, certain true love of God, certain conquest of very many urges, appetites within us, which is easier said than done. Therefore, permit me to make another reference to that red ocean and blue ocean for the sake of a phrase. One of the things I noted down is the authors say, sometimes you may try to go into the blue ocean, that is the creative, innovative, road less traveled, but they use this interesting figurative expression. The gravitational pull of red ocean or red ocean thinking doesn't spare you so easily. For namesake, you are doing something new, but it is a tweedledum to tweedledee, they say. There is no true change really. Outwardly, you are doing something new. Inwardly, the old habits are ruling you again. So one has to be extremely careful. Today I'm in a different mood in this webinar. So I seek your permission to make another reference to somebody outside spirituality. This time not much outside. There is a motivational speaker called Manoj Lekhi. His videos and his works are very interesting. He is quite spiritual only really, because He, in fact, was one of the foremost disciples of Rishi Prabhakar, who is no more, but who set in motion SSY, Siddha Samadhi Yoga. Rishi Prabhakar traveled all over the world, and there are followers even today. So they have certain spiritual lessons. So Manoj Lekhi has talked about an interesting value. One of his short videos connects very well with this, the road less traveled or so-called blue ocean strategy. Manoj Lekhi asks in a certain video, which is of his workshop, how many of you love yourself? Suppose there were 100 people in that workshop, all the 100 raised their hand. What a question. We love ourselves more than anybody else. That is human nature. He asks, do all of you really love yourself? Again, the hands go up. Do all of you really, really love yourselves? Hands go up. Then he asks an uncomfortable, inconvenient question. If you really love yourselves, why do you give poison to yourself daily? They are all embarrassed. They are all taken aback. What kind of question is he asking us? Where are we giving poison to ourselves? And beautifully, Manoj Lekhi, says, when day in and day out, though you know in your heart, you should not talk ill of people. You complain about this boss or that neighbor or that competitor or this somebody, this brother-in-law, that sister-in-law, this mother-in-law, this sometimes brother, sister, When you find fault with others, when you harbor hatred about others, you are giving poison to yourself. And to make a last reference to that video, which also I watched just half an hour back, today I did this little blue ocean preparation for this webinar. Rather than reading Shankara Bhashya and throwing Sanskrit phrases at you, I did some general reading, or nowadays a lot of general reading is in the form of these YouTube videos. So Manoj Lekhi says, M.K. Gandhi was thrown out of the train in South Africa, Pietermaritzburg, nearer to Pretoria, that famous episode. When with this bag, with this luggage, because he had colored skin, he was literally pushed out of the train, and he fell on the platform of that station called Saint, Pietermaritzburg, PM-burg they call it. I had a chance to see that spot during my only visit to South Africa in 2007. So Gandhi, Manoj Lekhi says, was very angry with those guards or the staff of the train who were, who had to do it because of the white people's ruling, right? But then apparently in about 40 minutes, that is Lekhi's version, M.K. Gandhi completely let go of that anger and began to think of humanity as such with certain sympathy. Why are we humans, why are we prejudiced? Why do we have a bias on caste or on color of skin or on educational qualification? On some ground, we consider somebody high and another low. Gender. Now, Afghanistan people are highly concerned whether they will rob women of their equal rights. On one hand, Saudi Arabia, one of the very, very staunch Islamic countries, when was it, 2 years ago or so, created history by permitting women to drive. Till 2 years ago, women in Saudi Arabia could not drive cars. But Saudi Arabia became liberal, and I believe it's becoming more liberal. Yoga is being taught in schools in Saudi Arabia. Anyway, but at the other end, a new government in Kabul is likely to discriminate against women. Anyway, M.K. Gandhi was so deeply concerned about any discrimination. He went beyond that specific case of color discrimination, all discrimination, all judging, all high and low is so cruel. And he went through such deep thinking that his anger vanished. And there was a certain inspiration. There was sympathy, not just plain sympathy, but sympathy with a certain inspiration to do something about this. And rest is history. And Manoj Lekhi says, if you keep anger for 40 years, that could be the cause for cancer and some other thing that you may have, you may get. In a manner of saying, he is a communicator in his own style. If you keep anger for 40 months, he gives a list of health problems that you may come across. If you keep anger for 40 days, and I have been having some allergy today, I don't have, luckily, sneezing, cough, cold, and so on. And in that video, Manoj Lekhi says, if you keep some anger about somebody for 40 hours, that can cause cough and cold. I started scratching my head. Oh my God. Against whom have I, harbored anger? And there are many with whom I am angry anyhow. But I was trying to examine both humor and serious matter. So if we keep jealousy or anger or fault finding, etc., that can cause health hazards, number one. And Manoj Lekhi calls it poison. If you truly love yourself, why under the sun do you give poison to yourself? Why don't you let go of that hatred, that fault finding? Be a love finder, don't be a fault finder. And the connection is 99 out of 100 people won't let go of their revengefulness, of their wanting to settle score with somebody, teaching somebody a lesson, wanting to see somebody fall, wishing ill. In fact, when he was saying, though he didn't cover, in my mind I thought, okay, this guy is now will talk about finding fault with oneself. He doesn't touch on it, but I would add that when you and I every day becomes severe critics of ourselves, I am no good, I am such an angry, short-tempered, greedy, lusty, jealous person, I don't think I can ever realize God. This self-criticism, leave others aside. Then also we are giving poison to ourselves. We should not think negatively about ourselves, habitually. Here and there, yes, take stock of some shortcomings. Take stock of your own situation, where I need to improve, where I need to let go of some bad habits. That is necessary. See, self-examination is different from self-condemnation. Self-condemnation is poisonous. And all of them, friends, are the road more taken. Everybody goes for criticizing the government, criticizing the society, criticizing the neighbors, and as I added, criticizing themselves. Come on, don't be judgmental of others or of yourselves. Understand and gently try to do things better way next time. Do not get into this labeling business. Don't every morning after breakfast or so put 7 labels on all over your body. I am greedy, one label here. I am lusty. I am jealous, I am incompetent, I am deceitful. Like this 7 or 8 labels we put everywhere, invisible labels, and then drag through the day. That would be poison, self-poisoning. Maybe I have lied. Maybe I have been lusty. Maybe I have been deceitful. Maybe here and there, well, more 100 times. But today is a fresh page in my book of life. I am not going to label myself. Even though I have lied 100 times to my own wife, maybe. Today, at least for these 24 hours, I am not going to tell a single lie. Maybe I'll keep mum, but no lie will come out of my mouth. In this way, make a difference. Then that is the road less traveled. Most people repeat. So do you see an interesting thing? To commit an error is not much of a problem. But to go on repeating like a machine, what we call mechanically, going on repeating the same error, knowingly, consciously, there is a problem with that. We should rather reduce our activities. We should rather bring down the quantity of things we are trying to do every day. Let's do just a few things, but improve the quality of our life. We should never say we cannot change. We can, but we need to prepare for that changing ourselves. We cannot have the cake and eat it too. Some of us make the mistake of wanting to do so many things and yet change. Because if you are trying to do so many things, be active in investing and harvesting and so on. Be active in religious activities. Be active in social, get-togethers. Be active in catching up with local news, national news and global news. Be active with entertainment also. If you want to be active in so many ways, then you will not be left with any energy to make some qualitative change. So why we sometimes feel we can never change? We are doomed, we are damned, we are all those, is because we haven't made some simple changes in our daily life. Therefore, a whole lot of people don't even sleep enough, don't even eat properly. They don't even talk sometimes to near and dear ones. They make a face. They go on postponing a 2-minute call, maybe to their own sister or brother who is a few miles away. Because mind is under pressure. Who asked you to try to do so many things? Cut it out, cut them down. Cut the gracefully, share with others. Or fine, who am I to specifically say anything? We only drop some hints. Take a deep breath and say, I don't want to just be running and racing and rushing. Let me slow down and bring about a qualitative change. Then, thanks to that qualitative change, I will have not just physical energy, emotional energy, a certain inner readiness, certain inner willingness. That's also a form of energy. All of us experience. Let me give this example and conclude. Sometimes we are about to hit the bed and then we realize that I left one vessel in the outer room. Maybe I should bring it at least to the kitchen, rinse it and keep it below the tap or something. Then we say, oh no, I'm going to sleep off. Now in such a scenario, just ask yourself, did you lack physical energy to go to the room, pick that couple of glasses and couple of plates, etc., maybe on the dining table and then put it another place? Or maybe sometimes cover something. There are a couple of things you and I think of doing before hitting the bed, but we forget. We are about to turn the light off, then we remember. Then it's not that we don't have the physical energy, but we don't have the mood. We call it the mood. I am in no mood to do anything now. I can't lift even a blade of grass. You can't lift a blade of grass because you have no physical energy. That's not the case. At that moment, if you suddenly remember, oh, that 5 minutes of that video was left, why not I watch that and then sleep? You get energy, mood. Youngsters sometimes want to watch a cricket match, or in India, elsewhere, some other. They jump out of their bed and go and watch it. But if it is about studying for next day's examination, I hate this chemistry. I don't want to think about chemistry now, and they just sleep. So it's nothing to do with physical energy. So is the case, friends, about this so-called inability to change. We will be able to change dramatically if we save some energy here and there, if we are little gentle to ourselves, if we stop self-condemnation, and if we don't waste time and energy on endlessly, repeatedly talking ill of X or Y, saying to some friends, you know how he again did? I knew he would do this. Again he did this, and grind our teeth. We get some pleasure. Sometimes if our enemy doesn't do any mistake in a particular scenario, we are disappointed. Because what do we tell our friends? There is nothing to report newly. We want our enemies to make another cruel thing, so we can tell the whole town, did you see, I told you he's such a wicked man. Look at what he has done. So for our sake, he has to do one more wicked thing. You get it? So strange are the ways we trap ourselves in the red ocean, where there is blood flowing into the water. We must move away to the blue ocean. That is, we must be creative, not just in business, but in right living. There is this application of that concept. We must think and gently, slowly, little by little, we must reinvest our energy in right things to do, withdrawing this energy from wrong things which we have been doing for long. Let me conclude saying what we have been doing for long is the road more traveled. What we may do newly with some thoughtfulness, with some gentle care, would be the road less taken or not taken. These are the two roads. Preya is one road where everybody goes. Shreya is the second road. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Please feel free to ask any question. Yeah, I said no allergy. No, I am back.
Swamiji, namaste.
Yeah, says, right, Subramaniam, after a long time, it's like you have staged a comeback. Please go ahead.
I am Rana.
Oh, your mic is off.
I am Rana, sir.
Oh, I think I mistook. Go on, go ahead.
I am Rana from Pune. TK Rana from Pune. Namaskar, Swami.
Yeah, Raina Saab. Yeah, correct, of course. Old friends. Tell me, Raina Saab.
Very enlightening talk, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Very much enlightening and inspiring.
आते रहिए, आप भी आइए और अच्छे सवाल पूछिए. Okay, so yeah, Subramaniam has a question.
Subramaniam, yeah, I have one question, maybe more of your advice. How can we apply Blue Ocean strategy for managing Hindu temples in USA, making more relevant to the current generation? We are sometimes so traditional even the pujas and all that, so elaborate and time consuming and all that, sometimes the effect is lost on the youth particularly. So I thought, can we apply it, or we have to stick to the traditions?
I think
not
by definition, what is creative is not a frozen thing. So there cannot be a standard pre-concluded answer to this question. By definition, what is creative is ever new. So what I may qualitatively suggest is, best thing is you must make the right answers come from youngsters themselves. So under some pretext, have youngsters get together, if not at your temple, even in the city, even in some college, some venue which is okay for them, where they feel comfortable, and facilitate seminars, group discussions, exchanges. Ask somebody among the youngsters to interview a Hindu teacher. Youngsters like to do such things sometimes. Ask a youngster who may be good in conversing. If you have some Swamis visiting Fort Worth, your town, let us say, and you ask one of the youngsters, like, I know some of your youngsters, Suma's sons, or that Ranna Jani's daughter, Amy, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are quite expressive. Your sons are a little grown up. They also can do. So this younger generation, they could interview this visiting Swami about Hinduism. Younger generation don't like so much to be told, but if you say you question them, they will, we will question it. So organize some activities where they feel, they are center stage. However, I do not advise you to stop any puja, because this puja, rituals, etc. have a place of their own. We have to balance both. Like this D.V. Gundappa, certain author says, old roots of a tree and fresh shoots, leaves and flowers, etc. above, both together make a tree beautiful. So our Vedic rituals, what the priests you have got from India, they are doing at the temple, none of them is, to be hastily cut out. Maybe just a few people of your generation appreciate it. Doesn't matter. Without, because there is what is called abundance mentality. Let this go on. There are people who love this, and youngsters will have their own interactions. Probably another offhand idea I can share with you is just see how the Americans have made yoga a multi-billion-dollar industry. What innovation they did. I have heard that some places they have even changed the name of the asanas. For example, Padmasana, they call criss or something, you crisscross your feet. I heard in San Diego during one of my travels that it became a legal issue. The Hindus in San Diego went to court saying you can't change the name of these asanas in some fancy way. But finally the white people won the legal case. Because the court said they are looking at it as physical exercises and they have the freedom to name it in some new way. Right. Nobody prevents you from calling it Padmasana or Kukutasana or Dhanurasana or Matsyasana. You call the way you like. Let them call the same exercises the way they like. Court said. So probably it will be of interest to you in America to find how some of these yoga and meditation, TM, etc., Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, what innovation they have done. Similarly, we can give a new packaging to the temple's activities. Right. But to the extent youngsters are involved in coming out with their suggestions, that will be better.
Good. Like that answer, Swami.
Sure. Let's think. We can have a chat sometime about that.
Yes. I would like to, Swami. Yeah, it is.
Praveena is asking something.
Yes, yeah, Swamiji, the topic today, you covered that blue ocean. It doesn't, I mean, Michael Porter, another really great professor. Yeah, blue ocean strategy, Swamiji, that's beautiful. Similarly, Michael Porter from Harvard Business School, for last 40 years, he has done a lot of work, and he doesn't call it as a blue ocean, but the way how you said, what current time, what the society needs are to build into your strategy if you're going to be creative. He's the one came out with this value-based medical health plans. So wow. For last 40, yeah, I mean, he started out, and actually a lot of them adapted here in California, moving into that value-based health plans, Swamiji.
Health plans, okay.
Right.
Yeah, Praveena is a pathologist, so she's in the health sector. Yeah, sure. Interesting. See, that's what in every domain there is a road less traveled.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you for your sharing.
Very, very useful and appropriate, Swamiji. Particularly in the pandemic 1.5 years, most of us have been fortunate to be confined to mostly our homes and a limited circle. Correct. And this is the time to reevaluate.
Correct.
Shreyas and prayers and qualitative changes.
Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Janakaramji. Janakaram and Malti are key members of a very wonderful ashram in Bangalore, the School of Ancient Wisdom. Very near Bangalore airport.
The chat box, something is there, Swamiji.
Huh?
In the chat box.
Okay, no, not there. Yeah, there are some 12 entries. Let's see. Some of them, of course, will be Hari Om, Ram Ram, and so on. Yeah. Yes. Ramakant and Karamani. Yeah. Thank you. Then Rekha says, very enlightening discourse. Thank you, Rekha. Chandragupta from Ranjani, please mute. Too much. Oh, that was some, yeah, I know. There was noise in the beginning. J. Krishnamurti Hindi. Someone has that name. That's fine. Okay. Meena Nirula. Okay, here is a question by Shakti Kumar. You mentioned the pull of the red ocean. I used the expression the gravitational pull of the red ocean. In fact, the whole expression is the gravitational pull of the red ocean thinking. We have that red ocean thinking. Reminded me of Vayoreva Sudushkaram. Oh, thank you. In Gita, Sri Krishna says, Chanchalam himana Krishna, pramati balavadradam, tasyaham nigraham manye, Vayoreva Sudushkaram. That's Arjuna saying. And Sri Krishna admits that. Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. He says, no doubt, the mind is extremely difficult to control. This pull, Shakti Kumar continues, this pull is in one's inner world as well. Is it unsurmountable, as it apparently cannot be suppressed by force? It is almost unsurmountable, but the good news is it can be overcome. No effort is a waste. We may put effort in some wrong way 100 times and fail. But one day we realize what mistake we were doing. Then we will change the way, nature of the effort. The Buddha talked about, right effort. Right effort and what is that? Some eightfold path. Everything right. So right effort. So J. Krishnamurti always talked about how control could make things worse. he was a champion of understanding. If I have anger in me, I need to understand anger. But normally people are impatient, understanding. That's all intellectual stuff. I'm going to, they say, tomorrow onwards, I'll not get angry. They go for willpower. But J. Krishnamurti, all his life said, will has serious limitations. So one has to discuss with the wise people, and then one sees, yes, what you called suppressed by force can have temporary relief, but a whole lot of problems later on. Now, United States for 20 years tried to handle Afghanistan. Then suddenly they have withdrawn. So the whole thing is just like how inside also we sometimes try to control. Then we just let go. We raise our hands in despair. Thank you, Shaktiji. I think you have not exactly asked a question. You have stirred up the matter. Okay, last one or two questions before we conclude.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Oh, someone has said here, thank you, Swamiji, when the ideas come from target population of Hatheri. When the ideas come from target population, involving them and facilitating their thinking process often proves to be valuable. Finding strategy to get them involved would be a challenging task, but if we could tap their interest area to start with, it will work. Yeah. So that is
I was just reflecting on Dr. Subramaniam's question and just thank you.
However, involving the young without any, if we keep away, then it can go in some unhealthy direction. So we should have a nice communication channel with them. We give them all freedom, but at intervals, you must check, okay, what did you guys think? What do you want to do? Something like that. Then the best will emerge. Otherwise, those youngsters don't know much. So they may take it in some other direction. Then you say, no, this can't be managed.
Jyotiji would like to ask questions from you.
Who?
Jyoti Verma.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Please.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
No,
the Blue Ocean strategy, I think recently I was talking to you and remember I mentioned the young motivational speaker, Jay Shetty. I think he has taken the spirituality to the young crowd.
Yeah, he's very successful.
Yeah, very successfully. So that's like a...
Jay Shetty, Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty is doing good work. And then there is in India someone called Sandeep Maheshwari. Though much of his work is in Hindi, some in English. Sandeep Maheshwari goes to university campuses and you should see not 1,000, 10,000 college boys and girls listening to him dancing. Other day I watched one of his videos, and below that YouTube video there is a number given. How many people have watched this video? It runs into several crores.
Wow.
1 crore is 10 million. So 40 million people have watched Sandeep Maheshwari's video. I sometimes am very delighted when I see my YouTube video, 230 people have watched. Wow, my Upanishad class, 230 people. You don't have to compare, we are all in different domains.
The Sadhguru and Gopal Das, those also, the kids, Sadhguru and Gopal Das.
Correct, Gaur Gopal Das.
Gaur Gopal Das, yeah.
True, thank you. Yeah, Gaur Gopal Das. I like him, he's amazing. Gaur Gopal Das can say in 5 minutes what we struggle to convey in 1 hour. He's got some. Okay, Prasad Garu, want to say something?
No, sir.
Raise your hand.
So Sucheta.
Yeah. Namaste, Swami.
Sucheta and Prasad. Namaste.
Namaste, Swamiji. You were asking about the Blue Ocean strategy.
Correct.
you were saying that people should discard old ways and not do the same thing over and over again.
Correct.
But isn't there a saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it? So how do we reconcile both the aspects?
Yeah, I have heard that phrase. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But can you say 2 sentences elaborating what is conveyed by that expression? If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Something that we are doing, we have been doing for centuries,
and
is
it is
working.
well. It's working, yeah.
Working. Why change it just for change's sake?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that is simple. That I would answer without looking left or right. This blue ocean strategy does not apply at all to time-tested approaches, But you will agree with me that the so-called time-tested things, which has been working for ages, are never superficial. They are, take for example, Ayurveda. In order to practice Ayurveda, one has to study, one has to get a sense of the whole thing. It's not very superficial. Make a table for this headache, you give this, for this, you give this, etc. And Ayurveda, or for that matter, yoga, or that matter, Vedanta, all these which have been successful for centuries, for thousands of years, are a science which one has to learn by feeling the way through it. Therefore, my immediate answer to that question is, if anything has been, proven over the centuries, that simply is not in this context. The context here is kama krodha and the attraction of mere wealth and pleasure and so on. That, in fact, over centuries has proved to be disastrous only. What you are talking about are certain truly valuable things, the eternal values of various cultures. So they are outside this context. So
even those things could be viewed in a different light without deviating from the truth, so that they don't sound monotonous. Same
Correct.
thing.
You can repackage them.
Yeah, repackage it. Yes.
Repackage.
That way it would be more interesting rather than hearing the same thing.
Exactly.
Especially with the kids.
There's a need of two-pronged approach. One is repackage it to go with the modern times. Other is all those things require a deeper understanding. Even my work, Vedanta, by imitating Chinmayānanda or Shivananda, by imitating somebody, I cannot do my job. By my own reflection, by my own learning in life, through my mistakes and my right things, I get a feeling for what it is to walk the path of self-inquiry. So that feeling doesn't come so easy. That has value. Just talking, like a parrot, very soon we'll break our teeth. It won't lead us anywhere. So yes, I agree with you. Package it new. That is one thing. But more importantly, the so-called time-tested things have to be owned. One has to make them one's own by a lot of hard work. As J. Krishnamurti would say, description is not the described. Someone may describe meditation in very picturesque language, but that person may not have actually experienced the peace and the beauty and the tranquility of meditation. Another person may not have the gift of language or gift of that oratory or this or that. But suppose the other person has truly meditated, which is a very mystical exploration. Real meditation is not just going through some steps, but finding one's way through one's thoughts and emotions and landing at a ground of peace. So I think we have identified what needs to be done. Yeah, there are many things which are time tested. There only you have to bring a fresh breeze into it. You don't have to make basic changes.
And Swamiji, besides, experiential truths are more convincing to everybody rather than coming from the book, something that people have actually experienced, that brings the message home than coming from the book. I think that's
very much so. Very much so. But middle level audiences, they are a bit attached to words and descriptions. But what actually makes a big impact would be not the words, something behind the words. So probably even when some Vivekananda type people, even today we read his speeches and we say, wow, how nicely he has said. But more than what he said, there was something he was carrying inside him. Otherwise, in Chicago Parliament of Religions, he just said when he got up, sisters and brothers of America. That's all he said. There was thunderous applause. That is it's a mystery actually. Why should the Americans be so excited by just this? Not just the words. I think that his personality, his tapas, his meditation, there was some force that was operating through him. So he had to wait till all the applause settled down. Then he continues his first speech, that 5-minute speech. So no denying of what you said. It's not the words, but a lot of us, audiences as well as speakers like us, we labor quite a lot through words, but here and there we succeed in going to greater depths inside us. Maybe audience also, some members of the audience. Words become the gateway, but some members of the audience begin to feel something in that. That non-verbal experience is of much more value than the literary appreciation. Oh, what a medium he used. And I like that gravitational pull. I like that ocean idea. So that is all literature. You will get the same joy if you read Kalidasa or Shakespeare also.
Swami, there is one question and some comments in the chat box.
From whom?
There's one question by Lata Sonpal, and then Mr. Srinivas Rao has written a comment. Or
yeah. There is one Girdhar Khaje also. Okay, let's start with Lataji. In a recent Ayurveda presentation, Lata Sonpal says, in a recent Ayurveda presentation, the presenter said, Guru means heavy. Will you please elaborate on that? Oh yeah, Guru means heavy. And Gurutva Karshana is gravitational force, So Guru, Gurutva, and in Ayurveda, maybe he was referring to how some medicines work and how the body chemistry works. So there the word Guru is heavy only. So the first meaning of Guru is heavy. But in spirituality, Guru can mean a teacher. So in every language, there are words which have multiple meanings. Depending on context or meaning. Swami Chinmayānanda always gave the example bark. Bark can mean barking of a dog or bark of a tree, depending on the context. Yeah, so Guru means heavy. So if you are carrying a stone and I ask you, what are you carrying? You may say, Yam Shila, and you may say, Gurvi. Gurvi is the feminine form of. It's quite heavy. The stone I'm carrying is heavy. To say that, you may say Gurvi. Gurvi is the feminine of Guru. So that is language. There's nothing more to it. Srinivas Rao says blue ocean strategy in the context of research and development helps immensely in building core competence. Yes, yes. Research and development, the core competence has to bank on creativity, not on just doing according to some set rules. Dr. Giridhar Khaje has recently given a talk on the Ayurvedic technique of living. I see. So people can look up YouTube, Giridhar Khaje, Khaje. And there is a... Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Lataji, yes, that's fine. Yeah. We know Lataji. Earlier also she has asked questions.
Swamiji, he has given just yesterday.
Oh, so YouTube, look for Giridhar Khaje, right?
And he is the man who is giving a daily routines how for ancients. It has come to us, and if you practice it, how good it comes to. It is in tune with whatever you were talking.
See, for that matter, even a simple thing like regulated breathing, Nadi Shuddhi, that has been working for thousands of years. So in the name of blue ocean strategy, we should not be foolish to say, I don't want to try any breathing. This is all old red ocean. I will do something else.
All time-tested processes.
Yeah, time-tested processes, but we must get a feeling for how it is to be done, how to go about it.
And I wish to share one thing. When we are convinced and then we are in the truth, and whatever we talk, it will automatically reach the other person in the feeling level. It is just like a gamma rays. What it gets generated, there is a receptor on the other side. It will also happen the same way. He receives it. If we are not convinced, I'm sure that the other person can never get convinced.
But I look at it that way. Though realizing certain truth is 1,000 times more effective than talking about it, talking about certain things has a place in spiritual education. Talking has a place in communication between teachers and students. Maybe it just clears some primary, obstacles. But still, this pravachana, our tradition also said, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Sincerely, with certain true involvement, people like you and me have to engage in verbal transaction. But if one of us, it could be the student realizing first, then the teacher, doesn't matter. If one of us realizes something, that has 1,000 times more value. So I look at it as an integrated approach where writing has a place, reading has a place, speaking has a place, attending lectures has a place. Everything has a place, and what works best for whom and during what phase of life something was very helpful, we can't say.
Thank you.
Somebody may just stop reading books, but somebody else, just like that, imitates him and stops reading books, may go into laziness. For many of us, reading some little stuff, gives new energy. So one should understand one's personality also.
Thank you so much.
All right, very nice. Very happy that many of you exchanged your thoughts. We'll meet again, if not next week, next to next Sunday.
Namaste. Swamiji, if you permit me, I just want to add one thing. You were mentioning about the professor who had hurt his wife. I was reading a book. It just came on to Amazon, written by it's called Lashes of Lightning, written by Professor Anup Chandola. He is the linguistics professor, retired from the University of Arizona. Actually, he worked elsewhere in Berkeley too before. And when I read first time, it sounded so odd that I thought everything he was questioning. And when I came to know that everything that he put it there was real, that he had actually seen is the first and witness, it was, when you mentioned about the professor, how we carry out the past experiences or whatever you had seen in the past, it automatically you inherit those and you apply it on others. So if anybody is interested, I would recommend this book. It's written by Anup Chandola. The title is Lashes of Lightning. It's a true story. That's what is fascinating.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Good.
Thank you.
Okay, good night to everybody in India and good day to all of you in the West. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you.